Emergencies update on the Alberta wildfires. We'll begin today with updates from Cindy Evans from the Alberta Emergency Management Agency and Christy Tucker from Alberta Wildfire. Then we'll take your questions. Go ahead, Cindy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Cindy Evans, and I am an Executive Director with the Alberta Emergency Management Agency. I am taking over duties from Colin Blair, who is moving on to support other aspects of the provincial wildlife response and recovery. The wildfire situation in the province remains volatile, and our thoughts are with those who have been affected by the fires. We recognize how difficult this situation is, particularly for those who have been evacuated or may need to evacuate in the coming days, or for Albertans who have experienced damage to their property. The safety of Albertans and the protection of their property is our ongoing top priority. Alberta continues to be under a provincial state of emergency, and the Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre remains at level 4. The fire danger is rated very high to extreme in northern Alberta and rated high to very high along the eastern slopes of the Rockies. There are currently 22 states of local emergency, 5 band council resolutions, and an estimated 10,673 Albertans have been evacuated at this time. 14 reception centres are open for affected areas, and the total number of evacuation orders now stands at 17. All Albertans who have evacuated are encouraged to register either at their nearest reception centre or online at emergencyregistration.alberta.ca. Registering makes it easier for evacuees to access help and resources. It also makes it easier for officials to reach those affected with important updates and information. We know that Albertans understandably have many questions about the status of specific wildfires in their area or other questions related to the current wildfire situation and the supports available. I want to remind Albertans that there are a number of places that they can go to get accurate and up-to-date information, including our daily telephone town halls held every day at 7:30 p.m. to answer wildfire-related questions from affected Albertans. To learn more about these calls or to listen online, visit alberta.ca. Alberta.ca is also a very good source of information on a variety of other wildfire-related topics, such as evacuation and financial supports, the latest evacuation orders, and information on community re-entry. Anyone living in a community that's on an evacuation alert should take steps to prepare to leave their home if needed. A few simple actions can help one be prepared to evacuate quickly and safely and make the return home easier. There is a comprehensive list of resources at alberta.ca. This site outlines all the steps needed to be well prepared if evacuated. Lastly, I want to highlight the poor air quality Albertans are experiencing in most areas across the province. Wildfire smoke can be harmful to one's health, even at low concentrations, and may fluctuate considerably from hour to hour. Alberta Health Services has good information on its website about air quality, advisories, and how to protect your health. The province is now into a very hot and dry May-long weekend, and we are asking all Albertans to remain informed. Please continue to follow updates on the wildfire situation across the province and obey all fire bans and restrictions in place. And please stay safe. Thank you, and I will now invite Christy to provide an update on behalf of Alberta Wildfire.
Thank you, Cindy. There are 91 wildfires in the forest protection area of Alberta. 25 of those are out of control. So far this year, we've responded to 496 wildfires, burning more than 842,000 hectares. Last year on this day, we'd burned just 459 hectares. Not 459,000, 459. So this year's total is nearly 2,000 times last year's. And with the smoke still in the air in much of the province, it's a reminder of how intense this fire season is. Smoke makes it difficult for us to fly, to assess and action wildfires from the air, but it does create cooler conditions that can weaken fire behavior. And we're still able to make progress on the ground with firefighters and heavy equipment out working on fire breaks and burnout operations and extinguishing hotspots. We're seeing scattered showers and thunderstorms in the southwest boreal today and along the northern part of the Rocky Mountains. While showers will certainly be welcomed by firefighters, we monitor thunderstorms very carefully. With our lightning sensors, fire centers across the forest protection area know where lightning has struck. We can then send out patrols to investigate whether that lightning might have started a wildfire. We've already seen lightning strikes in the Edson and Grand Prairie areas today, and we are monitoring them closely. As we look ahead to the week, our forecasters are tracking a front moving into the province from tomorrow, which should bring much-needed cooler temperatures, humidity, and even rain. What we'd like to see is a long, steady rain that will soak into the forest and into the ground. That will help us more than a short burst that would bring lightning and could spark a new wildfire. Boots on the ground today, there are more than 1,700 staff from Alberta Wildfire working on these fires today. We also have 1,112 brought in from across Canada and the United States. Once again, we appreciate the messages of support we've received from Albertans. And most of all, we appreciate the actions of those who have adapted their plans this weekend to help prevent any further wildfires in the province. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. We will begin with questions in the room and then move on to the phones. Please state your name and your outlet. Each reporter will have one question and one follow-up. Are there any questions from media in the room? Okay, seeing no one moving to the microphone in the room, we'll go to the phones. If you're on the phones and want to ask a question, just a reminder to hit *1 to enter the queue. Operator, please, do we have any questions on the phones?
There are no questions on the phone at this time.
Okay. Oh. Operator, do we have
Sorry, Arthur Green, Western Standard. Yes, we do. Arthur Green, Western Standard.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. So I was just wondering, I think this question will be for Christy. Do we have an update on any more buildings that have been lost, or does that number still stand at 275?
That is a question for our friends at AMA who are tracking.
Buildings that have been lost?
Just to confirm, you were looking for an update on the number of buildings or the structures. Right now, the numbers that we do have are 275 structures.
Okay, so that's still the same as it was yesterday. Just another question that I had. How are the winds affecting the wildfires in Alberta right now?
Question, please. I'm sorry, we had difficulty hearing. Could you repeat the question?
Not a problem. We're seeing scattered showers and thunderstorms, like you said today. How are the winds affecting the wildfires today?
Winds affecting the wildfires. Okay. Well, as we know, wind is one of the factors that can have an extreme influence on wildfire behavior, and that was certainly one of the major factors when we saw many of the wildfires that are currently on the landscape grow a significant amount in a short number of days. And wind can be a massive factor. I think we're preparing for the worst for this weekend. One of the things that we have seen, so particularly in the morning, is that we are seeing lower fire behavior than anticipated, and that is in part because the smoke is creating a kind of cloud cover. Now, if there's smoke in the air, there's often not a significant amount of wind because the smoke will stay in place. And so that's one of the things that we have noticed. Winds have been lighter at the moment than anticipated, and certainly helping to contribute to that lower fire behavior that we see, particularly in the morning. Now, as we move through the day, generally the pattern of weather behavior is that we see it warming up towards the early evening time, around the time many people are on their way home from work. That's when we can see the most intense fire behavior, and that's when we see the fuels are at their driest, and the air is warmer than it is earlier in the day. And particularly with many Albertans waking up to smoke, we notice the cooler temperatures, the overcast clouds, and that will help lower the behavior. But if you start to sense the temperature warming up, if you see the winds are starting, that could help invigorate some of the fire behavior.
Thank you. Operator, can you put through the next question?
François Joly, Radio-Canada. François, your line is open.
Sorry, forgot to unmute myself here. Just wondering if you have the last update on the Fox Creek fire. The last info we had was that it was still holding north of the town, about 1 kilometer from the town itself at the fire break. I'm just wondering if that's still the case.
Technically, the Eagle Complex, which is 2 wildfires in the vicinity of Fox Creek and the municipal district of Greenview, particularly Little Smoky, it's still classified as out of control. We have been seeing what I've been talking about, which is lower fire behavior in the morning and a bit higher in the evening as the day warms up. It's my understanding that Highway 43 was certainly affected by the smoke over the last couple of days. I understand it's closed between Fox Creek and Little Smoky, but of course firefighters there are doing their best to manage the area, and I believe they're working with the RCMP there on that particular area. One of the fires has had some growth to the east towards Highway 43, but I understand that that work is certainly continuing on providing a fire guard with the communities. As always, we focus our attention on where communities are most at risk. So that is where firefighters are committing resources and time in ensuring they're reinforcing those guards so that the fire is not drawn towards any more structures.
And do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. So the last time we had any, I think, sort of significant rain was about 2 weeks ago, and we saw fires, lesser fires activity. The number of fires dropped down to 76 or something around that. So I'm wondering if you're able to compare that last rain episode to the one we're expecting starting tomorrow night. Like, are they of similar magnitude, and should we expect similar results or impact?
Well, the accuracy of forecasting, even fire weather forecasting, becomes less certain as the further down you go. But we are anticipating hopefully a few days of cooler weather, more precipitation, rain, and the precipitation will help with the general humidity across the province as well. A lot depends on where exactly that rain falls. Rain is not uniform, and weather can be unpredictable. So certainly it will depend on whether the rain is falling directly on some of those fires. But in the area we're expecting it, it is forecast to make a big difference in our general indices that we're looking at when we're measuring the danger for wildfire. So a map that at the moment, heading into the long weekend, is pink and red, which is not what you want to see. It indicates extreme fire danger. in the next few days, it's looking a lot more blue and green, which is certainly something that's going to assist firefighters and help us in assigning our resources. When we have a lower fire behavior, potentially a significant amount of precipitation, which is what we'd like. We'd like a nice, steady rain for a few days. That would help us a significant amount. Something that will soak into the forest floor. Some of those fires out there are in peat, which means it can burn down as well as across. And that means it can be very difficult to put out in the short term. So we're looking for some moisture that is really going to soak the ground and will assist us not just in the short term, but in the longer term by providing some of that humidity, making it harder for fires to spread even when the rain stops.
Thank you. Operator, please put through the next question.
Cornick, Global News.
Hi, yeah, I'm just wondering regarding the fires here near Fox Creek. There are several crews from like Ontario, Quebec, Oregon, as we understand it, the military. I'm just wondering if you could speak to how much coordination is required to make sure that, you know, these crews from all over Canada and the U.S. are kind of working together. Just kind of wondering if you could kind of speak to that, just the coordination, communication that's involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that we do deal with every year. Either if we require extra help here in Alberta, we will bring in resources through the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, and we export just as many firefighters as we bring in when our other agencies are having a difficult season as well. So one of the benefits of working through the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre is ensuring that we have the same standards, we have the same training, we have the same safety practices, we have better ways of communicating with each other, and certainly that cooperation is something that we have been practicing year in, year out for quite a while now. So there is a real benefit to these agreements that we have, even outside the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. We have agreements through the Northwest Compact, which is a separate agreement with northwestern states and provinces. And again, we can ensure that we have the same standards, the same training and expectations, equipment and understanding, so that when you are working with these diverse groups of people, we all speak the same language. And then we can understand each other very well. And certainly I know they've been integrating the armed forces firefighters into operations and giving them training that's needed for the specific type of basic firefighting that they're helping with, and ensuring that everyone is working together, understanding each other, and being able to be moved around from fire to fire where they're needed.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and just kind of on that note, is it Alberta Wildfire then that ultimately, like individuals here on the ground, that ultimately decide the strategy?
Incident commander and an incident management team in place. And you have people there whose job it is to think a few steps ahead on addressing the fire and how best to tackle it, what tactics they need to use. So the incident commander will be making those decisions, and they will be using the resources that are available to them and communicating. Also, all of the agencies that we're working with will have an agency representative based here in Alberta that we can communicate with very easily. So we know the importance of talking to each other during a fire, and that is certainly something that we prize very highly, so that we can make sure that everyone is on the same page, and that you can't tackle a fire season like this if you're not organized.
Thank you. Operator, can you put through the next question, please?
Nariman Issa, CTV Edmonton.
Hi there. I'm just wondering, you mentioned that today in Esson and Grand Prairie that there were lightning strikes that happened, and I know that you guys like to monitor for fire activity from lightning strikes from the sky, but because of the heavy smoke, that's tough. So how do you go about monitoring lightning strikes when you're not able to get into the sky, from the sky?
We do have sensors around the province that will tell us the location of lightning strikes. If we are not able to fly, if the smoke is incredibly thick, we will make use of what resources we have. So obviously people are very mobile on the ground. We have crews who can travel by truck, and we do have people spread out all through the province. And so that's certainly one of the things that we have. Fire centers all across the forest protection area, as well as camps close to where all of our major wildfires are burning. So there are a lot of firefighters out there, and we make use of them to check out where we have lightning strikes, just to ensure that we can attack a fire before it grows.
And do you have a follow-up?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, operator, please put through the next question.
Josh Paul, RD News Now.
Hi there. I'm just hoping I could get a little bit of clarity on the situation with Little Smoky. Obviously, it's a very small community, and the evacuation order there has been in place for a couple of weeks now. Today, the order changed a little bit with residents from Little Smoky now going north, as we know, because the highway is closed going south towards Whitecourt, where evacuees from Fox Creek are supposed to go, and that's where people from Little Smoky were supposed to go. But I'm just wondering if I could get some info on, where Little Smoky folks are supposed to go now specifically, but also hand in hand with that, is there anybody actually known to still be in Little Smoky now with 2 weeks having gone by with the evacuation order?
I'll ask Cindy to assist with that.
Thank you for the question. As we understand right now, the evacuation order is still in place for Little Smoky. However, we will certainly look at that, and we can get some more information on that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a follow-up question, Josh? Operator, are there any more questions?
There are no additional questions in the queue.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our media availability for today. Please note a media situation report will be distributed later today. Thank you.